The Hockenheim ring. Can you believe it? This season 2014 is almost over, and with almost, I mean one more race to go. The big finale here traditionally at the Hockenheim ring. And with me is Timo Glock. Timo, unfortunately, it is your home race, but you're starting from P19. However, you're going to push really hard, I'm sure. But what do you think? Where can you go from P19?
It's very difficult, but first of all, it's great to see so many fans here at the last race, which is every time quite spectacular. So I just hope we will have a chance maybe with the safety car to come up to the point somehow, because we're still fighting for the Constructors' Championship, and that would be great if we can bring that home to BMW again. But it's a tough one today, but we try our best, and it's like that is DTM. If something is not working 100%, you end up P19, and that happened to us yesterday. I made a little mistake in the stadium. Cost me a tenth, and I was straight out of qualifying. So that's how it is, and we try the best today.
I'm sure you will. Thank you so much. And now we're going to go on board with Timo, who's taking us on a lap here at Hockenheim Ring. Enjoy.
Put your hands on the wheel. So we are here in Hockenheim for one lap in the simulator. So we arrive here turn 1. It's a very quick corner. 4th or 5th gear in a DTM car. Need to watch out for the track limits, which is very difficult to get the car in the right position. Second corner, very difficult in terms of the braking. You see, I just already was a bit too late. Lost it on the exit of the corner, so I lost a lot of speed, which you need down to the hairpin through the parabolica, which is a perfect possibility to use DRS and to overtake someone in the race. So braking is here very important. Hard downshifts. Need to get the car right, position it right, and try to get the maximum speed out of the corner to take all the speed down to the Mercedes arena, which is a very quick right-hander here. Easy flat with 220 Ks. Braking into the Mercedes arena, another hard braking, second gear. Try to be early on power again, take all the speed out of the Mercedes arena, which is flat in the DTM car. Into the stadium, another quick corner, 5th gear, or even 4th, depends on. Here we do it in 4th. Then to the Sachs corner, 2nd gear, very difficult in a DTM car to get the car right. Totally different line to Formula 1. And then the last complex, a very long double right-hander, where you need to place the car again in the right position for the last corner. Early on power, and then take all the speed down to start and finish.
Now I'm here with Toto Wolff. Now 2014 is almost over. At the beginning of the season, most people said, well, it's going to be really tough for Mercedes-Benz. It's not looking that well. But quite frankly, you've got 3 victories. You've got Pascal Wehrlein as the youngest winner of all times, and Christian Vettoris is still fighting for the 2nd place in the championship. So it's not so bad, right?
Yeah, if you look at the results, it wasn't so bad. Winning 3 races looks like being quite competitive. But the truth is, we started the season on the back foot. We had a gap of almost 7 tenths to our competitors, and we caught up a lot. And especially, I'm very proud about those victories, because they were done under difficult conditions, rainy conditions in Oschersleben, for example. But then Lausitz ring was real performance, and. I think we've found a lot of time. We've developed the car. We were able to develop the car, but it was a difficult season. So I'm actually happy if we can have a good result, close the chapter 2014, and fully concentrate on 2015.
Right now, you already mentioned the car you developed, or you continued developing the car during the season, and Christian Vettoris was already able to drive it in Zandvoort. But now here at Hockenheim Ring, everyone's going to drive it today. What are the first impressions? What do you think? How's it going?
I think it's a good car. We've developed the car aerodynamically, in vehicle dynamics. We understood the tire a little bit more. But in DTM, it's so close. We had 6 cars in 1.5 tenths today, and you need to find the sweet spot of the tire, the sweet spot of the setup, and in order to achieve that, you need to test the car. You need to understand the car, and this is not done within a day. So it needs time. I'm quite happy with the product, with the basic product, the performance. There seems to be performance in the car, but it's not where we want to be yet.
All right. Thank you very much, Toto Wolff.
Thank you.
So here is the grid. We start the season, we close the season at Hockenheim, and Molina and Ekstrom lock out the front row.
Behind them comes Eduardo Mortara and Augusto Farfus, the best of the BMW drivers, fourth.
Then we get Jamie Green, P5, and the best of the Mercedes with Pascal Wehrlein, who is P6.
The top 8 on the grid, rounded out by outgoing champion Mike Rockenfeller and former double champion Timo Scheider.
Then we see Antonio Felix da Costa, P9, and Paul di Resta, former Formula One star, alongside him.
Adrian Tombay was on pole here at the start of the year. He's 11th for the final round. Robert Wickens is alongside.
Big surprise here, P13 for the champion Marco Wittmann and Bruno Spengler, P14.
Then you get to Moscow winner Maxime Martin and Gary Paffett's difficult year. He's 16th on the grid.
Daniel Juncadella runs on the option tyres. Nico Muller chooses to run with the standards on the next row of the grid.
Timo Glock frustrated in qualifying, but ahead of Martin Tomczyk, who was on the podium at Zandvoort.
And then we see Joey Hand and Christian Vitoris, P21, P22.
And then Vitaly Petrov is the man at the back of the grid. Let's go back to the grid and join Verena.
Yes, and the man of the moment is Miguel Molina. He's just getting ready, getting into the car. And as we know, he's had 3 poles in his career, almost 4, but that was snatched away from him again. So 3 poles, but it never worked out for a victory. So now he's super extra special focused. So it's not possible to get an interview with him, which is absolutely understandable because he is focusing on the race and hoping his best. He's going to try his best and push really hard to get his first victory in his career, because of course, especially in Hockenheim at the finale, that would be fantastic for him. So let's see, let's cross our fingers for him, and now back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Verena. Of course, that would be absolutely his focus, wouldn't it? So Molina and Ekstrom on the front row of the grid. Now, it's a beautiful day here at Hockenheim. The weather is just about perfect to go racing as we see Timo Scheider in his final stages of preparation. Tyre choices on the front row of the grid, David. Interesting.
They are, because you have Miguel Molina on the option, but you have Matthias Ekstrom on the standard tyre, the harder tyre, the prime, if you like. And it's very rare that we've had anybody on the front of the grid this year going on the harder tyre. And therefore, the second stint is going to be fascinating, because really, for the first time all season, we will see a car with potential race-winning pace on the better option of tyre in the second stint, making progress. We then come back to the usual situation as to how much time those cars will lose in the first part of the race. But Ekstrom and Mortara, who is third on the grid, starting on the primes, are going to be well worth watching in that second stint. This is going to be a really good race, I think.
Well, as we see Timo Scheider then getting into his car. Timo Glock, when Verena was talking to him, was talking about the potential for a safety car and how the safety car would play into the hands for Timo Glock. Not so likely here, potentially at Hockenheim with plenty of runoff area. Only time will tell, of course. This, of course, a Grand Prix circuit, Hockenheim, and therefore safety car, not necessarily a given, is it? There are some circuits that you can go to and you can almost guarantee that you will see a safety car as we get this fantastic heli shot and the grid of Molina. Ekstrom, front row. The yellow indicates option tyres, the black indicates standard tyres. Mortara, Farfus, then it's green, Wehrlein, Rockenfeller. Then it is Scheider, Felix da Costa, di Resta, Tombay, Wickens. Then it's Marco Wittmann, who's poorest qualifying of the entire season, P13. Then it's Spengler, Martin, Paffett, Juncadella, Muller, Glock, Tomczyk, Hand, Vitoris, and Petrov. As we look at Pascal Wehrlein, of course, who has been elevated into the Mercedes Formula One program as
the DTM, and it's a big finale. What are you expecting for the race?
I'm so excited to be here. And such a great crowd. I hope that we have a good race. I hope Mercedes can get closest to the front and if not win.
And speaking of Mercedes, Formula One, I mean, you've already won the manufacturer title, and now it's up to you to take the title home. It's going to be a really thrilling 3 last races with you and Nico. Are you confident to take the title home?
I feel just the same as I did in the last few races. I feel good. I think it's going to be tough for sure, but keep my fingers crossed.
We are crossing our fingers too. Thank you and enjoy the last race. And now we're excited for the race to begin. So back to you guys. Woo!
Thanks very much, Verena. Slight woo at the end there. Clearly pleased to see Lewis again here as a guest of DTM.
And of course, many, many years ago, he was a regular in the DTM paddock, well, in the Formula 3 paddock, supporting the DTM,
yes,
when he and Nico Rosberg used to be rivals in the Formula 3 Euro Series. And look where the pair of them have ended up. So, grid is formed, grid is cleared very shortly. The warming up lap is going to be underway, an opportunity to urge a bit of temperature into the Hancocks. Options and primes across the grid. We're in the last minute of the countdown before the cars are released. Audi, with just one win to its name, is eager to win the Manufacturers Award. It's Audi versus BMW. That's something else we have to factor in, as well as the race situation for the drivers' runners-up spot.
And, of course, BMW equally as keen to nail all three, aren't
Absolutely,
they?
yeah.
The teams, the drivers and the manufacturers as well. So it is going to be a tight fight, that's for sure.
It's also going to be fascinating to see how Marco Wittmann gets on. You mentioned in that grid rundown where he was, but it's the first time all season he's not made it into the final 8, therefore into Q3. And Wittmann has never had as much traffic around him. So in a sense, he almost doesn't know how it's going to be this year, because normally he's able to make a break or be in that leading pack. But here, he's in midfield. He's won the DTM Champions Trophy already, which is there on the grid as the cars set off on this warming up lap. But what progress can Wittmann make in what promises to be an enthralling end to the championship?
Well, we are about to find out as we look at Timo Scheider heading around this 4.5 kilometre circuit here at Hockenheim. Really, really interested in what you were saying about the information that you've heard with regards to the longevity of those option tyres. And the strategy will be fantastic. Here is the grid again. The yellow and black indicators to the right-hand side of the graphics indicate what tyres people are starting on. Splitting the strategy at the front, Molina and Matthias Ekstrom. Then it's Mortara and Farfus. Green and Wehrlein, Rockenfeller, Scheider. Then it's Felix da Costa and Di Resta and Tombe and Wickens. Before we get back to Marco Wittmann, who's going on the standard tyre, unlike Bruno Spengler, alongside him, who is going on the options. Then it's Maxime Martin, Paffett, Junkadella, Muller, Glock, Tomczyk, Hand, Vittoris, and Vitaly Petrov.
The champion is Marco Wittmann, and he's going to start 13th on the grid. He leaves himself with work to do. And we have seen often this year that he is the trailblazer for BMW. He's able to magic results, certainly in qualifying out of the car when others don't. But Augusto Farfus will be worth watching at the start, because he is the second-placed driver on the grid on option tyres. Farfus has had a second place this year, but no wins. It's been a bit of a lean period for the very, very personable Brazilian. He will be one to watch as well.
Here comes the tension in the garages then. We saw Mr. Marquardt, Jens Marquardt, looking at his Marco Wittmann star in the car there. There's Dieter Gas and Wolfgang Ulrich alongside him in the Audi garage. And also there is Hans-Jürgen Abt, as you can see to the very right of the picture. And next it's going to be the tension, I suspect, in the Mercedes-Benz garage that we will see. As that great heli shot of the Hockenheim ring here. As you've mentioned over the course, as we see Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes garage. Great to hear from Lewis Hamilton just before the start of this race. Of course, himself very much in a championship battle, and looking good for him at the moment. Huge crowd here at Hockenheim, and I was going to go on to say it's a very different Hockenheim to one in years gone by, David.
Yes, because in the old days, the cars would blast out into the forests. There were chicanes put in to slow down the cars. They'd loop their way through the forests and back down to the stadium. But speeds were becoming high and the runoff wasn't really safe. And so the big loop at the top was hacked off. They run across the back of the paddock. And this, if you call it the new Hockenheim circuit now, is very much established. It's wide, it's fast, it gives good racing. It's the perfect place for the end of season DTM round. Round 10 is about to get underway. The tripartite battle between Mercedes, Audi and BMW has got one last chapter to write.
And as we look at the grid forming, we are about to get underway. We await the marshal at the back of the grid to give us the green flag to say that everything is satisfactory. We throw the lights up in caption at the very top of the screen for you. And we await the final race of DTM 2014. Gets underway right now. So good start from Jamie Green, who's trying to drive and dive past Augusto Farfus and does so and goes up to P3. Matthias Ekstrom controls from the front. Miguel Molina tucked in beside. We can see Gary Paffett running wide. There are a whole bunch of cars running wide. Molina and Ekstrom side by side now.
Molina leads, goes wide, Ekstrom takes the lead, Jamie Green goes second, and Molina has squandered pole position. And you'll see in replay when we get it, there was a dreadful start by Mortara from third on the grid, who absolutely crawled away from the line in comparison. So Mortara has lost heaps of ground on this opening lap as the cars work their way up towards the hairpin. And so as the field accelerates out of the parabolica, it is going to be Matthias Ekstrom versus Jamie Green, who gets the lead on the inside.
So Jamie Green goes through. Marco Wittmann is right in the middle of a huge sandwich there. Timo Glock, there's contact, but all of them go through the pinch point of the hairpin relatively safely. They all get through, it seems, unscathed, but Jamie Green is leading this race now from Matthias Ekstrom. And what a phenomenal drive from Pascal Wehrlein up to P3.
Yeah, Wehrlein from sixth on the grid. He's on the options. Green is on the options, but Ekstrom, remember, is the leading light on the standard tyre. So it's a case as normal as to how much time he's going to lose in the first 22 laps that he's got to run those tyres for relative to Jamie Green. But he's also got the others stacked up behind. Now, does he defend and lose more time, or does he let them go? Under investigation is Adrian Tombay for a jump start.
Well, we'll see what comes of Back here to Wickens to Resta. There is Vitoris. And here, the champion, Marco Wittmann. And Wittmann deciding to go with the standard tyres at the start of the race. There he is. We get a different camera angle of Marco Wittmann as he chases down Eduardo Mortara. Here's our race leader, and once again, Pascal Wehrlein has taken some time out of Jamie Green there. The gap is down to just 4/10 now.
And that's good for those on the prime tyre, because if they get together and squabble, they won't be able to escape quite so much. They'll be losing time by racing, so that actually plays a little bit more into the hands of Ekstrom, who is now 5.5 seconds back. My initial calculations after the pit stops, I think he can win it.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. We've made notes of that. Right now, make note of this, because Pascal Wehrlein is lining up Jamie Green. Augusto Farfus is just standing by for if those two should come to blows. He wants to take advantage of that and pounce like a viper. But it is Green at the moment defending from Pascal Wehrlein. He's just beginning to pull away a little bit more now, Jamie Green. So the Pascal Wehrlein has just pushed a little bit too hard. Danny Juncadella then has Mike Rockenfeller behind. There is Robert Wickens.
Juncadella up to 8th, isn't he, at the expense of Rockenfeller. He's on the options, don't forget, so going strongly. Then you've got the Wickens-Vitoris situation coming into view as well. Paul de Resta is next.
Vitoris, of course, is on the faster tyres as well, and actually being held up by Wickens, but he goes through now.
And he's going to be given that place, I suspect, because, of course, he's fighting for second in the championship.
Exactly right.
So that's a shuffle done by Mercedes, ready from the pit wall to let their championship contender up the order.
Now, Green has increased the margin just a little bit over that lap. It's up to 7/10 now over Pascal Wehrlein. So there we can see our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all go through.
And Ekstrom, who is in 7th place, is only 6 seconds behind the race leader. I'm wondering whether the option tyres are being used to their maximum, whether the drivers are actually doing a really 100% job on them, or are just looking after them a little bit, because I'm surprised that some of the prime-tired cars aren't losing more pace.
And of course, by being less aggressive and having perhaps a more preservation thought towards them, is going to mean that their durability increases. As out very, very wide
goes Vitoris. Well, 1 up and 2 down, because Wickens and de Resta have got past him, and he's now going to buy back into that battle. De Resta comes then down through the Mercedes arena once more out of the tribune, and he's got to try and find a way up past Robert Wickens, but Vitoris made a mistake there and he's given away 2 places.
So there, that trio of Mercedes drivers. Let's see it again. Oh, lock up and
down to him.
Yeah.
There, look, is Wittmann gaining track position as well against Mortara, and that gives Da Costa a chance to buy into it as well.
And that replay from being on board with Christian Vitoris as he locked up and ran wide at the hairpin. So as they cross the timing line again, Green still with 7/10 over Pascal Wehrlein. We watch Maxime Martin right now. There's our race leader, beginning to peel away a little bit. It's up to 8/10 now from Pascal Wehrlein. I wonder whether you're right. Just wonder whether they've just been a bit conservative with the way they use the tyres and not take too much out of them. And now Jamie's just turned the wick up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing good sectors. Granted, they will get faster as they get more temperature in, and Jamie Green is reeled in under braking because Wehrlein has now got Farfus and then Molina and then Scheider right up behind him. The other fascination, of course, in all of this is how these cars will go when they get onto the prime tyre in the second stint. We're talking about how Ekstrom might be able to come through in the second stint, but if there's not that much to choose. At the moment, it's only about half a second to 8/10 of a second between the tyres. If Jamie Green's able to build up a good enough advantage and he goes onto the primes just still competitive in that second stint, it still could be a ripper race right up to the very end.
You're absolutely right. Do hope so. So, Green then. There is Matthias Ekstrom, P7. Danny Juncadella is P8. So David doing all the computations as we saw a huge glance from Matthias Ekstrom in the rearview mirror there, just keeping an eye on where Danny Juncadella is. Danny Juncadella currently P8, of course, running on the option tyre as well. So Matthias Ekstrom on the standard tyre. As they cross the timing line again, a 1:34.721 from Jamie Green. which means the margin back to Pascal Wehrlein, 0.8 of a second.
It's also the fastest lap of the race, which therefore now does suggest that either they're up to temperature and or Jamie is prepared to push a little bit harder on those tyres. Significantly as well, he's now over a second a lap quicker than Ekstrom. It was half a second, it was 0.8, it's now 0.11 of a second, and that means the prime tyres are starting to lose their edge a little bit. The option's now definitely the way to go because you can see the speed increasing and the gaps increasing.
I just wonder whether lap 7, whether it is the fact that they're just pushing a bit harder rather than them coming into the temperature range. Who knows? Right. So, Matthias Ekstrom then defends from Daniel Juncadella. A big effort from Danny Juncadella to get alongside. He went through, but he was got back by Matthias Ekstrom. And now Juncadella stays absolutely, resolutely committed to this. This is Danny Juncadella versus Matthias Ekstrom. And, well, Ecky's always going to yield, isn't he? He's going to have to, because Danny Juncadella being on the option tyres, but Ecky's never going to make it easy for him.
No, Juncadella on the faster tyre goes through. That was inevitable, but Ekstrom has got to stay in that group as best he can. Jamie Green is continuing to lead. Now have a look at the replay at the start. Look at the second car in shot of Mortara, because it was a very bad start, as I said at the time. Fifth red light will come on, and as they accelerate away, now it just bogs down completely. Tombe is the man that jumped, and so he got the drive through. But look, Mortara, loads of wheel spin. Had about 3 bites of that. Didn't need to really hook up and go.
5 or 6 cars just straight by him, 7 maybe.
And so he was in midfield virtually by the time he got to the first corner. So that was really what ruined the race for Edo Mortara, sad to say. Drama as Da Costa and others ran out way wide. Right, replay from Mortara's car. It goes, and it's almost like the revs drop completely. Yeah. So nearly stalled, I think, and then he has to pick up pace, by which stage everybody else has got the momentum, and it's virtually ruined the race, hasn't it?
The intercity train has gone through, hasn't it?
And then he gets involved with Da Costa, so he gets forced out wide at turn 1 and loses more places. 2 more cars go by, so it's been a lap, a start, and possibly a race even to forget for Edo Mortara.
So, it goes from bad to worse for Edo Mortara, as he's now being shown the black and white flag for leaving the track with an advantage. And this in replay then, as we get all these replay shots right now. And that's a fantastic shot of the hairpin and the BMW bank car of Bruno Spengler on Mike Rockenfeller. Green leading by 1.1 seconds over Pascal Wehrlein. There is our race leader turning the final turn, the Sud Curve here.
Interesting, isn't it, how Wehrlein now has dropped away from Green. Yes. If anything, he's having to think about defending from Farfus, whereas 2 or 3 laps ago, you were talking about the fact that he was up there with Jamie Green and they were virtually together. Indeed. Jamie has responded.
Yes. Now, Green, of course, being 1.4 seconds ahead of Pascal Wehrlein. I'm just going back to your earlier point as to whether the tyres have come into their temperature range or whether actually Jamie was just being a bit conservative and driving very sensibly early on.
Very possibly a bit of both. Of course, he's also, by having that margin outside of a DRS range, isn't he, as you've got the battle here as Scheider tees up to have a go at Molina. This is for 4th and 5th places. Farfus and the BMW ahead, and Scheider looks to try to get up the inside of Miguel Molina, the pole man, who's never had a DTM win. And Scheider, whose season started off pretty pops, has really turned around. He was good at Lausitzring, he was good at Zandvoort, he's good here as well. You never rule out Scheider. Vastly committed driver to the Audi cause and a very good DTM peddler as well. And now he's reminding people, after a pretty disappointing season as a whole, just how good he is. Although yesterday he did lose time in Q3. This is Juncadella's move on Ekstrom, and then he runs out wide, and Eki comes back at him up the inside line. Great racing between these two. Ekstrom looks across and says, go on then, make your move.
It's brilliant, just those facial expressions from Matthias Ekstrom as Hans-Jürgen Ept looks away. Jamie Green now crosses the timing line, and pens poised, calculators poised, with David alongside me doing those computations now, and it's the margin back to Matthias Ekstrom that we're most interested in. So Green with 1.4 second margin over Pascal Wehrlein. Then it's Farfus, Molina, Scheider, Spengler, Juncadella, and then we see Ekstrom and Rockenfeller. Then Vitoris, De Resta, Wickens, Wittmann. Mired down there, P13, and Antonio Felix da Costa behind.
Ekstrom did last time his fastest lap of the race thus far. The previous one was a little slower. He lost a bit more time against Green, but largely that was because he was battling and lost time. Now that he's behind Juncker, he's not having to defend from anybody, so he can just get on with his own race once again. Second, third, fourth and fifth now all closing up. But at the moment, Ekstrom is going the right way about being within 36 seconds, which I think is the crucial number going into the second stint of the race. Now, Rockenfeller, you need to keep an eye to as well in the car behind Ekstrom there. Look, the outgoing champion, because he is the second of those in what you might call Class B for those that are running on the prime tyre. And so don't rule him out. He's only a second behind Ekstrom.
Here comes the live margin between Green and Ekstrom then. 12.264, David, 12.264. And we are what, lap 10, lap 11 of 42.
OK, it's going to be more than that at the end of the lap. That's obviously done on the sectors, the intermediate points. So we'll see what it is at the end of the lap relative to the previous and see whether this gap is continuing to grow at the same rate. The team's anticipating the soft tyre to be 1.8 seconds a lap quicker. We're not quite there, but last time it was 1.7 quicker, Green over Ekstrom. Jamie Green on that lap does a 34.7, Ekstrom does a 35.7, so it's 1 second. The gap is 12.8 between them.
Yeah. On board with Christian Vitoris down there in P10. Christian Vitoris running on the faster option tyres. Another driver being warned for track limits is Antonio Felix da Costa. And here is Maxime Martin with big damage to the side of that car.
Yeah, someone's gone into the side of him, I think, under braking. I would suspect that happened at the hairpin.
Looks like a T-bone, doesn't it?
It does, rather. And he was running in that Glock Petrov-Muller situation. And I think that might well have kicked off. Antonio Felix da Costa being warned about leaving the track and gaining an advantage in so doing. Pascal Wehrlein then dropping away. Jamie Green still leading up front. And, of course, he is somebody who's won the final round of the championship here in the past, back in 07, back in 2011 as well. So he always rises to the occasion here. You talk about Norris Ring being one of Jamie's good circuits because he always goes well there. Yes. Multiple winner, but he also does a good job here at the end of the season. And he deserves a victory, dare one say, because he's had some lousy luck this year as Jamie Green.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I would agree with that. He has. And, well, as we keep our eyes on every single piece of information that all our timing screens are giving to us as well, because it will be interesting to see when those option tyres, because, you know, what you were saying earlier with regards to the durability of them as to when we see them drop off that cliff. So, Green leads from Wehrlein and Farfus. Those are the 1, 2, 3 here, the final round of DTM for 2014. There's our leader going through. There is Pascal Wehrlein. Then it's Augusto Farfus. Molina behind. And then it is Timo Scheider. Augusto Farfus just lining up Pascal Wehrlein. Timo Scheider doing the same with Molina as well. Now, all of them have got DRS available to them, haven't they? And that can be used in defence as much as attack, as there's a position swap there with Scheider and Molina.
So Scheider goes through. He's been teeing that up for many, many laps, hasn't he? And Molina not being able to do anything about Farfus. So Scheider thinks, right, I'll have a go at this now. But what that has done, look, is release Farfus right onto the back of Wehrlein. He doesn't have to defend anymore, so he can attack the Mercedes. And now we'll see whether we might get a change for second. And there is Scheider's move up the inside. He was given racing room, in fairness, by Molina. So now Scheider spearheads the attack to see if he can work his way through the traffic. Farfus the first target.
Well, we will see. Another driver failing to manage track limits at turn 1 is Martin Tomczyk. We're watching Timo Scheider right now. There is Augusto Farfus. And Scheider, you can already see the gap between himself and Molina. So Scheider on a bit of a charge now, and next in his target sights is the BMW of Augusto Farfus.
The lead gap, Green to Wehrlein, is 2.6 seconds. Wehrlein to Farfus is half a second. And Green to Ekstrom is now 14.8. It's going up now for the last 3 laps at 1 second a lap, which is not the gain that the option tyre was expected to have over the prime. Still better, still worth obviously using for as much as you can in your stint of the race, which Ekstrom will do late on, 20 lap maximum, but it's not got the massive gain that was anticipated.
Okay. We are monitoring that constantly. So there is Christian Vettoris then. P10 for Vettoris at the moment. Green leads. Wehrlein P2. There is Timo Scheider on the back of Augusto Farfus.
And he's got there in a lap, hasn't he?
He has got there in a lap.
As I say, now it's his turn to see whether he can do what Molina couldn't and work his way through the traffic. And a battle pack developing here again will, for the later part of the race, help those drivers on the prime tyre now, because these drivers will be losing speed, losing time against them while they squabble. It is like a big game of chess, though. So
it is.
I grant you, but it all works out in the wash at the very end. So Farfus, who is the best of the BMW pilots at the moment, third overall, comes out of the final corner, the Sud curve. Jamie Green, in the meantime, is getting away, and he's just done the fastest lap of the race. A 34.5 is the best yet. And don't forget, it's not just about him pushing and about tyre temperatures, it's also the fuel loads coming down all the time as well. So the car is getting lighter and getting quicker.
Yep.
That's Spengler down the pit lane. Now, I'm not aware of a drive-through. No, it's to do with tyres.
So
Spengler was on the options.
Yes, he was. They've come off. And the standard tyres have gone on. Good stop. 2.3 seconds for Bruno Spengler. Christian Vettoris now needs to get past Mike Rockenfeller. Rockenfeller on the standard tyres. Vettoris is on the options. And Vettoris is lining him up towards the hairpin now down the parabolica. Mike Rockenfeller gives room, and Christian Vettoris goes through the hairpin. Great shot that we're able to bring you there as Vettoris now powers away. And next up the order for Christian Vettoris is Matthias Ekström.
Which will be interesting, won't it? Vettoris, of course, is the man he's fighting with to be runner-up in the championship. Here's the move up on the inside. Vettoris on the options, up from the rear of the grid. And, of course, he'd already lost ground early on by skipping over the curb. So Vettoris goes through, gains track position against Mike Rockenfeller. But it could have been even better, this, had Vettoris not lost that time early in the race. Maxime Martin, incidentally, soldiering on despite the damage to his BMW.
Okay.
And now we need to see at the end of the next lap, the first flying lap, where Bruno Spengler is, now that he's switched onto the harder tyre.
And the times from, including Adrien Tombe, also Nico Muller. So there is Farfus and Scheider right on him now. The DRS deployed on both cars, as you can see. And right at the hairpin, Scheider goes right to virtually as close to Augusto Farfus as he can be without there being contact.
But don't forget that this group of drivers are coming to the end of their advantageous period. They're on lap 16. They can only do 20 laps on the option tyre. That is the maximum. Equally, it's the maximum Ekström can do in his second stint. So there's going to be that crossover point where everybody is on the same. And then you get into the second stint where you get another wave of drivers on the option tyre going quicker. And that is when you'll start to see the race order really sort itself out. But based on the 1.8 second a lap difference the teams were talking about, by now Ekström should be 27 seconds back. He's 17.5 seconds back, so he's very much in the game.
Yes, you're right. Jamie Green crosses the timing line now, and here is the gap back to Matthias Ekström live as they cross the timing line. And David stands by with pen, calculator, computer, everything poised. Danny Juncatella, are you ready? There is 19.125.
Okay, that's still where he wants to be, because he ideally, from the option tired point of view, would be something like 28 seconds back, but he's not. He's staying in that mix very competitively indeed. What it does do, of course, is give more question marks in that second stint, because, as we keep saying, the option tyre doesn't have an enormous advantage in this race. It has an advantage of about a second and a bit per lap, and Audis are certainly competitive cars at the moment, no matter what tyre they're on. Ekstrom running 7th overall. That is a mighty effort. He's about to be 8th, I fear, because he's got Vitoris now right up with him. The gap is coming down and down. Here it is. Don't forget, this is a battle on track at the moment for 7th place. It's also teeing up the battle to be the runner-up in the championship.
Of course. And these two are fighting that out right now as Vitoris up the inside there. Ekstrom knew it was futile, really, to make any stupid defence manoeuvres, and very driving very sensibly. Matthias Ekstrom, as you would expect, hugely experienced, hugely respected as well. So Vitoris goes through now, and now that Vitoris has been released, he's the last of the drivers on track on option tyres. So it's Green, Wehrlein, Farfus, Scheider, Molina, Juncadella and Vitoris, the top 7. But only the top 7 are on options because, as you say, Ekstrom in particular has managed this race supremely on the standard tyre.
Vitoris has another problem in a sense now, which is that there aren't that many other Mercedes in this leading group to give him any more help. You've got Wehrlein running in 2nd spot as Farfus defends from Scheider here, but Vitoris, I should say, has got to do the rest of the hard work to gain track position on merit. There aren't that many cars that are going to get out of his way.
As once again, Scheider lines up Augusto Farfus. This is going to be interesting going into the hairpin. So Farfus on the inside, Scheider on the wide outside, but he'll hope to dive through on the inside. It was completely denied. Great line there from Augusto Farfus as he lights up the Castrol Edge BMW. Lap 17 of 42 here at the Hockenheim final round of DTM for 2014. And now onto the back of that pack. There's Farfus. There is Scheider and Molina.
Yeah.
So a little way back, Juncadella and Vitoris. Vitoris now having been released, if you like, and he's now up into P7, but with a few seconds to make up before he's on the back of Danny Juncadella, who's, another Mercedes driver. Talking of Mercedes drivers, here's Gary Paffett battling hard with Mortara, who's having a torrid time. And Joey Hand trying to buy into that as well.
Interesting this, that Paffett is on the prime tyre, Mortara is on the option, but they're very evenly matched. This is Molina, who pits a little bit earlier perhaps than anticipated, so he comes in at the end of lap 18. Miguel Molina to go on now to the prime tyre.
Right.
And Spengler, I never told you about, because he's running in 12th place. I'll give you the gap next time through. And has Spengler lost, has Farfus lost out? He has. Scheider goes through at long last. Scheider up into 3rd. It's Green, Wehrlein, Scheider. And, of course, you've got 2 Audis up there that could be quite useful for Ekstrom late in the race if he needs to buy back some positions.
So here it is in replay then. That is how Timo Scheider did it. And so been lining that up over a few laps, and this is Gary Paffett there, and a little bit of one of the aero plates flew off there. We can see it perhaps here. Oh, and that's why, just a little bit of contact there. Rubbing his racing. Edo Mortara then, see on board. But here is our race leader, Jamie Green. Last lap of 1:34.785, so he runs just a bit wide there, takes a bit of curb. Round to turn 15, and then it is the Sud Curva before heading for home once again, and the timing line, Jamie Green.
But the tyres are still working for him. What he wants to do is to try and build up as big an advantage as he possibly can so that he's impregnable from Ekstrom in the second stint. Farfus now pits, having lost out to Scheider. He comes into the pit lane, so he does 19 laps on the options, and he comes now.
So Augusto Farfus down the pit lane. And the team await, ready to go to work.
Vitoris is in, Dave, as well, so the other driver that we're talking about as the potential runner-up in the championship pits. Farfus gets turned around very quickly, 2.8 seconds. A pit stop is 23 seconds, which includes the drive time and a stop. So 23 seconds is roughly what you will lose by pitting. Farfus comes out ahead of Miguel Molina, look, so he's retained track position over the Audi.
Now, we've seen Farfus in, we've seen Vitoris in. Of course, they've been battling hard, haven't they? That presumably having taken more out of the tyres than perhaps Jamie Green, who's on his own. He's not got anybody around him. He's going very, very quickly, undeniably, as we see the stop from Christian Vittoris. So Jamie Green, at the moment, continuing to stay out there. You can just see from our comms booth window as he goes around the Sachs turn. It's going to be crucial to see when Jamie Green comes in, isn't it?
Well, it's got to be this time, hasn't it? Because you can only do 20 laps on them.
You're right.
So in theory, unless something goes wrong in the strategy, he should be in this time. In. This is the answer. So Jamie Green, the race leader, pits at the end of the requisite 20th lap, and there'll be a whole wave of cars coming in. So now we have the first real shuffle of the order.
And of course, Jamie Green has fallen foul of the fact that he actually ran those options for too long in a previous race, so not making that mistake again. Jamie Green in. We need a blistering stop from the team here for Jamie Green. We've got our clock on it, as you can see, 3.6 seconds.
Okay, he'll stay ahead of Wehrlein because he and Scheider are coming down the pit lane. 10.7 was Green's advantage over Wehrlein when he came into the pit lane. So Ekstrom stays out, and Scheider is not going to get ahead. Is he on the pit stops? They're side by side down the pit lane. What is going to give here? They can't rejoin side by side, and Scheider eventually has to give way to Wehrlein, who came in ahead of him, but that was very tight indeed. They've both stayed ahead of Farfus, look.
Yes.
So they've kept track position over the Brazilian, who's got Molina right up behind him. So an unsafe relief. Pascal Wehrlein is under investigation for an unsafe release then in the Mercedes, and Scheider could have perhaps made life tougher for Mercedes, but in the end he just lifted and let Wehrlein get ahead.
So now Scheider lines Wehrlein up. So Pascal Wehrlein on the inside here, Timo Scheider, and Wehrlein will run Timo Scheider out there, and Scheider not able to do anything about it now. Both of them have been in for their stop. But Scheider sticks like glue to the back of Pascal Wehrlein here.
But he knows he's got to get past because if he's stuck in traffic, Farfus will be up with him. Here we go again. Scheider was on the move.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right way of looking at it, because the Mercedes team released Wehrlein after Scheider had been moving for, what, a second, 2 seconds?
Yes.
Yeah. So really, you could say that Scheider should have been allowed to take the place there. However, the stewards will investigate and they will decide. So Jamie Green goes across the line. He has maintained the race lead.
Yes.
And we've got Ekstrom coming down the pit lane now with Rockenfeller right up behind him. Here's Ekstrom, who comes in at the end of lap 21.
So both of them then, Matthias Ekstrom and Mike Rockenfeller in. 3.2 seconds. Matthias Ekstrom, Rocky out at almost exactly the same time. On board with Marco Wittmann.
Mechanics with the headdresses on.
Yes.
Celebrate his championship. And a drive-through penalty has come for Pascal Wehrlein for an unsafe release. So that takes him straight out of the mix for a win.
I'm not surprised by that, if I'm honest. So now, as fingers, toes, and everything else are being used to calculate the margins here, that is Pascal Wehrlein, who's going to have to serve a drive-through penalty for that unsafe release. And that scuppers any chances Pascal Wehrlein has. That drive-through penalty, as you can see up on screen now, the right-hand side of the screen, confirmation, the unsafe release, the reason for the drive-through penalty for Pascal Wehrlein. So Timo Scheider now doesn't have to work too hard because he knows within 3 laps that Pascal Wehrlein's going to be diving in anyway. And there'll be no point trying to battle very, very hard to get past Wehrlein when he's going to have to disappear into the pit lane at some point. Chooses not to do it currently.
Well, there's the board.
There is the board. So 22 of 42 laps here at Hockenheim in the sunshine. Jamie Green still leading this race. In comes Paffett and Joey Hand. So from P11 and P13 on track, there is Gary Paffett. 3.5 second the actual stop, and we go on board to see Matthias Ekström now, just adjusting the bias there, you can see. And we're on board with him as he brakes, heavy braking into the hairpin now. Matthias Ekström on the option tyre is P8 on track. Last time around, 24.4 seconds, the margin off the leader. There is Mike Rockenfeller. Christian Vittoris behind now. So, come on then. What do you think?
I think that Ekström is still going to be able to win this race because he's 25 seconds back, and on the previous lap he had done the absolute best in the first sector. Yep. He's on the quicker tyre. What I'm struggling with just ever so slightly is you just seen Gary Paffett and Joey Hand pit at the end of lap 22, whereas Ekström and others pitted at the end of lap 21. However I do my sums, I can't help but add 20 laps that you can do as the maximum on the option tyre to 21 and get to 41 laps, not 42.
While you ponder on that, another bad decision. There's Pascal Wehrlein. We were seeing different angles there with regards to that unsafe release. And seeing it from a different angle, David, actually puts a different perspective on it, as we did there. So
interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trouble is, instant justice. The drive-through is served. Yeah, and they can't take it back now.
No.
Marco Wittmann is the quickest man on the circuit. Now, bear in mind that he is also now on the option tyre. Trouble is, he's got a lot more work to do from earlier on.
Yes.
What I'm saying is, you're looking at some of these cars doing 21 laps on the option by the sums, not 20.
Oh. A lot of smoke coming off the back of Martin's car there, as I deliberately avoid the point that you're making, because I don't know what the answer is.
And you assume the teams have done their numbers correctly, and that's why they brought them all in. But there is Martin's car still with the damage.
There have been mistakes in the past, and I mentioned that, didn't I, when Jamie Green came in. Jamie Green had been out for a lap too long on the options in a previous race.
So Jamie Green is the leader at the moment. Let's go back to the race and enjoy it for what it is without thinking too much about numbers just for the moment, because he is 11.4 seconds up on Scheider. You've got Farfus in third, Molina fourth. Now Spengler is in fifth place. He is ahead of Ekström. This is significant because, remember, he was one of the earlier drivers to change tyre. However, of course, he went away from option onto prime, so his pace is going to ebb away. Sixth is Juncker-Deher, seventh is Ekström. Now, the gap that Jamie Green had over Ekström was 25.1 seconds. It is coming down, so we've now done 24 laps, and there is Ekström going ahead of Juncker-Deher. So at the end of 24 laps, it's 22.1 seconds, but Ekström is gaining, as you can see, track position all the time here. And interestingly, Rockenfeller, who wasn't as quick in qualifying, is staying with him in race trim, both options of tyre being used. He was with him pretty much on the option, on the prime to begin with, and on the option tyre now.
So both of them get past Danny Juncker-Deher now, both Ekström and Mike Rockenfeller, as they are heading themselves up the order there. 24 of 42 laps, Green leading. And let's see it in replay as Matthias Ekström lined up Danny Juncker-Deher, who locks up, which aids Matthias Ekström's overtaking manoeuvre. No question about that. And around the parabolica, heading up towards the hairpin, and Mike Rockenfeller really is showing pace now, isn't he? And staying with Matthias Ekström, and also goes through on Danny Juncker-Deher. There is Timo Scheider, then it's Farfus and Molina.
And these two, Farfus and Molina, split by 0.4 of a second. But Jamie Green continues to be the race leader, but he is being caught by Scheider. The gap between the leading Audis that are on the prime tyre now is coming down. Ekström last time through was 21.2 seconds back, so he's not quite a second of that quicker than Jamie Green, but he is bringing down the gap.
There is Jamie Green, currently race leader. The all-orange car of Jamie Green. Let's watch him at work here. this man at work as well. Matthias Ekström. P6 on track. Hounding down the all-black BMW bank car of Bruno Spengler. Mike Rockenfeller following him for all his worth. Eki looking just a little bit more pacey now, if I'm honest with you. And he lines up Bruno Spengler.
And again, this just illustrates the advantage that the option tyre has easily through on the inside.
Absolutely, so easy.
Yeah, and Spengler, who, in fairness, struggled in qualifying anyway, does not have the car speed that Ekström does, doesn't have the tyre speed either, has to let him go. And Rockenfeller wants to get up and pass him as well, because he's now been stuck behind Spengler for a couple of corners. This is bad news for Rockenfeller, because it's enabling Ekström to build an advantage.
And there, look, Rocky all over the back of Bruno Spengler trying. So Bruno Spengler, Mike Rockenfeller right alongside now, and will go through. Outgoing champion, of course, Mike Rockenfeller, the 2013 DTM champion. Parabolica heading towards the hairpin. And Matthias Ekström has got advantage now over Mike Rockenfeller. Mike being held up by Bruno Spengler for 3, maybe 4 turns before he was able to make that move and make that stick. In Bruno Spengler, it's in replay. And the pit lane ranking, Spengler 23.3, then it was Farfus 23.8. You can see the graphic on the left-hand side of the screen. That was Vittorius 23.9. Some great shots there to bring you. Teams work so hard. They rehearse this. In fact, it's part of the routine. And for some lucky fans that are able to get into the pit lane and watch the pit lane practice, it's absolutely awesome to see that well-oiled machine at work. And that's interesting that we watched the Pascal Wehrlein one. And still the smoking Maxime Martin. That car looks slow in, David.
It does indeed, doesn't it?
It's all over for Maxime Martin.
Now that last lap from Matthias Ekström was a 34.5. He is still lapping quicker than Jamie Green, but he's not hacking away at the gap for the moment.
So we watch our leader, Jamie Green. Here is Marco Wittmann, who's lining up Christian Vittorius ahead of him. Marco Wittmann is P11, Vittorius P10, and up the inside of Vittorius. Next in the order is Pascal Wehrlein. See the Di Resta car in the back of the shot as well. So Vittorius fighting back here a bit at Marco Wittmann. And Di Resta, who is on the option tyres, I think will be released by Vittorius without too much of a problem. And there indeed that happens as Paul Di Resta goes through. Just look at the Marco Wittmann having got past Vittorius. Now reeling in the Pascal Wehrlein car as we go back on board with Matthias Ekström, who on track is P5, and Moliner is within sight. And, well, he limped the car back to the pit lane, did Maxime Martin, and the race it'll be pretty much over, I would think, for the Maxime Martin car. Into the garage, it's guided. And our first retirement of this race at Hockenheim. Let's go back on board with Matthias Ekström now. So he lines up Molina. And he has Augusto Farfus through. Goes Matthias Ekström. Next it's going to be the Castrol Edge BMW.
Now, of course, it's easier to get past Molina, isn't it? Because that's an Audi. It's going to be harder work to get past Farfus. And this is the danger for him, that he loses time. So he comes now through the Mercedes Tribune. Some crude number crunching based on the pace of Jamie Green and Matthias Ekström suggests that going on to the penultimate lap, they'll be 0.3 of a second apart. It's going to go down to the wire, this one. Mike Rockenfeller is also looking for a way past Miguel Molina. Trouble is, of course, from Jamie Green's point of view, if they do start that lap nose to tail, as Rockenfeller goes around the outside of Molina, it's important that Ekstrom takes the runners-up spot in the championship. Now, he's ahead anyway of Vitoris. Would they feel the need to put Ekstrom into the lead of the race or follow Jamie Green home and take the points for being second? It's a tough one, actually, for the Audi management to decide here, but we'll keep an eye on that, because as they come across the line now, Ekstrom is fourth. At the end of 29 laps, he's 16.1 seconds back, so he's going the right way about it.
Yes, he is. And these shots of Matthias working so very hard is great to see. Of course, everyone was talking ahead of the race, including ourselves, about a safety car. And certainly in the 30 laps that we've had, hasn't been a necessity, thankfully. Matthias Ekstrom now lining up Augusto Farfus, as you've said. He's not going to be quite so easy to get past him. Farfus just seemed to run just a little bit wider there, didn't he? But Matthias Ekstrom has got the job done. Of course, he's on the superior rubber, but doesn't mean to say that Farfus is going to make it easy for him, and Mike Rockenfeller's going to have the same problem.
We should be looking at Ekstrom being round about 14.8 seconds, 14.7, 14.8 seconds back from Jamie Green at the end of this lap. But now he's in the clear air, so he should be able to make a bit of progress as Rocky goes up the inside of the BMW as well and picks off a spot.
Well, we will see. So 14.8, 14.7 is what we're looking for. And there is the Audi. I won't believe just how hard the calculators are working to my right-hand side in this comms booth today. Enjoyable to watch. Pascal Wehrlein then. Down there in P11.
It's the race that could have been, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm afraid to say. Yeah. Right, Jamie Green has gone through. That lap is a 36. The best he was doing earlier was a 33 on the option tyre as Paul di Resta tries to battle away with Gary Paffett. We've also got Mortara in that mix. Here comes Glock heading towards us. Right, we have had Ekstrom across the line. It's 14.5. Better than I thought.
So Glock, Paffett, Muller. We're on board with Edo Mortara. Well, better than you thought. And, well, Nico Muller trying to line up Gary Paffett, and side by side for Joey Hand.
And Mortara fends him off, but only just.
That was, of course, whilst that battled, Gary Paffett able to get away with Nico Muller close behind as well.
That was nearly a smacked hand, wasn't it?
Yes.
Mortara just chops across the front of Joey Hand in time. Here it is again. So the BMW with a bit of elbows out, squirms out of the corner. Mortara forced out wide. Dander well and truly up at this point, up the inside line, heading into the Sudkurve, and back he comes through just across the front. Here's the leader. This is Jamie Green on lap 31 of 42, and he continues to lead the way.
So Jamie Green then around the Sudkurve and heads towards the timing line. It's Green. And now, there is Matthias Ekstrom. Let's run the clock live on screen for you. Mike Rockenfeller really following in the wheel tracks of Matthias Ekstrom as well.
So it's down to 12.6 seconds now.
Well, the battle has intensified there. We were talking about it just a moment ago. Mortara run off. Hopefully we'll see a replay of that, but here it comes.
Yes.
That one was a little more forceful.
Yeah, I think Joey Hand came quite a long way back there and clattered away through, didn't he? On pace, certainly, Ekstrom can win this race. It now depends whether or not Audi feel that he should be allowed through come the very end. But actually, it's going to be hard to see Jamie Green being able to repel him on the slower tyre, because Ekstrom will get up onto the back of him.
Yes.
So Ekstrom should win. The other question is whether Rockenfeller will achieve second place, because, again, at the moment, he's got the speed and he's got the tyres to do that.
So the prediction potentially then, Ekstrom, Rocky maybe P2, Green maybe down to P3 possibly.
Yes.
But the connotations, it could all work very differently. Of course, we've still got a number of laps to do, and that's a great shame to see the retirement of Eduardo Mortara.
Yeah, and I'm afraid to say that it was his bad start that really was the start of the problems here, because if he'd have been up with the leading group, running pretty much in clear air, it would have been different. He and Hand are under investigation for the incident, but had he not made that duff getaway, it would have been a different story anyway.
Yes, I think you're right. Okay, there is Ekstrom. Green crosses the timing line now. Timo Scheider is in there, of course, as well in P2. But here comes Ekstrom now and crosses the timing line.
11 seconds back he is now. So what have we done? 32 laps. And that lap was a 34.3. Green did a 35.9. So what's he doing? 1.6 seconds a lap quicker, which is heading to that 1.8 that the teams expected the difference to be between the option and the prime.
So let's recap where we're at the moment as Bruno Spengler and Paul de Resta. De Resta, of course, running on the option tyre. Bruno Spengler on the standards. The black and the yellow on the left-hand side of your screen indicates what tyre choice they're on in this, the second stint of the race. It's green that leads from Timo Scheider, from Ekstrom, Rockenfeller, Farfus is P5, then it's Molina, Wittmann, then it's De Resta, and Bruno Spengler, and then Danny Ucadella P10. That's the top 10 at the moment, and the way it looks at the moment, lap 32 of 42 here. The grand finale for DTM in 2014. Marco Wittmann, the champion, having already done enough to seal that championship. Here's P7, and now, crucially, Eki is past Timo Scheider, and so too is Mike Rockenfeller. This is it. This is the chase to the flag now, isn't it?
So let's see where we fare at the end of 33 laps. It is 9.7 seconds as they come over the timing line. So they're going to get themselves together for the lead on lap 40, would be my prediction.
Okay.
So Green leads Ekstrom, 9.7. Of course, Ekstrom's got Rockenfeller behind him, but I don't think Rockenfeller's going to go through because that's only taking points off Ekstrom in that runners-up spot. What Audi also need, of course, and they're going the right way about it with the top four locked out, is as many cars up there as they can for the Manufacturers Award.
Absolutely, it's the Manufacturers title that is the one that remains. So very disappointed and sad to see Eduardo Mortara is with Verena now.
Yes, very sad to see. Obviously, Edo is looking like a promising race for you today, starting in P3. Did you maybe try too hard? Were you maybe too motivated?
I mean, it was a nightmare. I mean, first had a problem with the clutch since the formation lap, and then I don't know what was wrong with the car, but it was pretty undrivable today, and was just losing ground and getting hit by the others, and the situation was just getting worse and worse. And I was actually happy to finish because today was a very, very long race for us. This year, this season is finishing definitely very, very sadly for me. But all in all, if we look at the results at the moment, Audi should become, I think, Manufacturers champion. So there is a positive in everything, this thing, and so I hope that it finished like that.
Thank you so much, Edo. You've always got to see the positive in that. So back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Verena, for getting Eduardo Mortara for us, who, interestingly, of course, we wouldn't have been aware of this, said that he was suffering a clutch problem on the formation lap. Clearly, that was always going to cause him problems, wasn't it, when it came to bogging down at the start, and well, it was really, really clear for us to see, wasn't it? Okay, Here is Matthias Ekstrom then, with Mike Rockenfeller right with him. Bruno Spengler there, then Pascal Wehrlein, Danny Juncadella. So Spengler, Wehrlein, Juncadella all on the standard tyre. Here is Marco Wittmann on Molina. And Marco Wittmann, of course, running on the options as to pull the rest of the car right behind Marco Wittmann that you can see. And Wittmann being denied there. But now goes through. He's left room by Molina. Be futile to try and stop. So Wittmann moves up another space. Moves up another place.
Good for BMW because it's another car up there for the Manufacturers Award. 6th now for this year's champion, Marco Wittmann. So Jamie Green is on lap 35 of 42. He leads from Matthias Ekstrom. Jamie, who was got to say, dominated the race.
Yes.
He led the first stint. He's leading the second stint as Glock and Paffett run together. Up the inside goes the BMW. Round the outside goes Nico Müller. This is what the DTM should be about. 3 different brands all represented. Absolutely squabbling as one. And Paffett comes out of the corner ahead. Former champion puts former Grand Prix racer Timo Glock back in his box there.
Nico Müller was trying to buy into that as well, wasn't he? And they were 3 abreast at one point. Brilliant to watch. So Paffett, now Müller has a go at Timo Glock. And Müller has got the line on Glock here. He runs Glock just a bit wide, sticks his elbows out, and Müller goes through. Well, that was good to see as well.
It was indeed. Hard racing. Those two fell out, didn't they, at the Hungaroring at the start of the year. But Timo Glock comes off worse here as well. The leading gap is 6.4 seconds. Aki's going to win this. It's going to be 2 in a row as a prediction. Having won at Zandvoort, the gap is coming down and down and down. He's now 1.8 seconds a lap quicker. As they're in replay, you see Müller getting through on the inside, elbows out and all.
You're going to say Mullered.
I'll leave that to you.
Right, there, you can see the contact there, and Glock. Well, I feel it was hard done by there, but it was a bit physical. But as you've said, it's good hard racing that we like to see, isn't it? There is Jamie Green, who, well, through the turn 15 he goes, heads towards the Sud curve, and there you can see Matthias Ekström and Mike Rockefeller chasing very, very hard. Green crosses the timing line. Here comes Matthias Ekström right now, and the margin is down to 4.8.
Okay, so he's continuing this pace at 1.6 seconds a lap quicker. So he's going to be up there now on lap 39. He's going to be on the back of Jamie Green by the 39th lap of the 42.
Right.
And he's going to win because he's got the speed.
Yes.
Jamie won't be able to stack him up. So I'm afraid to say that Jamie Green is a bit of a sitting duck now. It's not his fault, it's just that Ekström is in a much quicker car thanks to the tyres. That's the replay of Juncker there elbowing his way past Spengler. And that was the battle on track for 13th place. Take that.
Well, you see, I actually disagree with you a little bit there. I think the wronged was not the person you said, and that was Juncker just giving a bit back.
Well, maybe. I don't think it's over either, though.
No, you're probably right.
Right, lap 37 of 42. This is Jamie Green looking for a victory this year, and here is the chasing pack, Audi, heading for the manufacturer championship title. You can see how it stacks up as the order runs at the moment, so they'll outscore BMW, which is critical.
Yes. But
Jamie Green will look in the mirror and his heart will sink a little bit because the quicker Ekström Rockefeller duo is bearing down on him.
Yes, and you feel for Green a little bit, don't you? Because he's driven faultlessly, hasn't he? Absolutely faultlessly. Particularly if, as we suspect, he managed the rate of degradation on those tyres right at the start of the race by driving more conservatively.
Comes over the timing line then. He's got to try and make the option tyres last 22 laps, but I'm still intrigued as to how the others managed to come in on lap 21, not lap 22. But anyway, maybe Audi calculators work differently from others. Up to the approach of the Parabolica they come. The gap is now down to 3.3, and that's Juncker Deyer, who is in the tyres, he's in the gravel, he's in retirement from this race.
I wonder.
Surely not, no.
I wonder. Very odd position for him to be in there as well, isn't it?
Yes, we'll get a replay no doubt in a moment, but he's that really cleared the gravel, hasn't he? DRS is disabled while this car is off the road, and the safety car is deployed. The safety car is deployed, and that means that Jamie Green's advantage, such as it was, will disappear.
It's gone.
Now that safety car, you've got to say, is not looking terribly deployed yet, but the message has gone up on the timing screen.
It was completely on his own.
On his own.
Completely on his own.
So we're on lap 38. The message about the safety car goes to the timing screens. It will be released and pick up Jamie Green this time. Big frustration. And as Dieter Gass alluded to before the race started, given developments in Formula One of late, if there's going to be a car recovered, the race director, very much under the spotlight, will take no chances.
Going to throw a safety, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's completely understandable.
So Jamie Green there goes over the timing line. Matthias Ekström is second. He's 2.1 seconds behind Well, thanks to the safety car, he's going to get onto the back of his Audi Mark mate a little bit sooner than I was predicting, but I think the result is going to be inevitable nonetheless.
I think you're right.
What this does put us on to now is lap 39. How long is this safety car period going to be? Now, behind Rockenfeller, you've got Scheider on the primes and Wittmann on the options. The real beneficiary of this is Wittmann. For the podium.
We'll see. We will see. Also dependent is how quickly they'll recover the Juncadella car.
Yes. I am assuming we go racing again, yes.
Well, I'm sure we will. The snatch vehicle, I can see from our comms booth position, high in the main grandstand. The crane is already there, so don't think it's going to be long. Under investigation, the incident between cars number 9 and 19, without even looking, we know that's going to be Bruno Spengler and Danny Juncadella.
You don't miss much, do you? Right? You're there. So the safety car heads the field now into the Mercedes tribune, and there is the Mercedes that is being extricated from the gravel swiftly, which is good news in terms of going racing once again, but of course the whole field will stack up. So you've got Wittmann in 5th place, who is going to be on the options. You've got Paul Di Resta, 6th on the options. So actually, the last, what are we going to get, 3 laps, maybe 2 laps, could turn out to be a real barnstormer. And Ekstrom's win, in quotes, is less assured now than it was before the safety car.
Yes. But he's going to have some. He's going to have some support all around him, isn't he?
He is. Yeah. But Daniel Juncadella could have just done Marco Wittmann and Paul Di Resta, who's a Mercedes driver, a bit of a favour.
Right, there is the man that may, just may, be able to take advantage of this situation. Marco Wittmann. Is the car coming in this lap? No, lights are still on, aren't they?
Yes, and it's missed the pit in anyway, so it's going to do one more. Pit exit is closed anyway, as Juncadella's car is off the track, so we should be able to go back to racing this time. Jamie Green would quite like this to end behind the safety car.
Of course he would.
We are on lap number 40. 3 laps to go. At best, it's going to be 2 racing laps, isn't it?
Going to be a bit busy, isn't it?
Yes. So Matthias Ekstrom running in 2nd place, hoping that he's going to be able to find a way through. He should be, because his tyres are the better option, the faster tyres, and put him into the lead.
Now, the thing is here, Green, OK, will try and back them all up.
Yeah.
But, of course, Bay, in so doing, I just wonder whether Wittmann is going to be the real beneficiary here. We need to see it played out, don't we? It's got to happen, hasn't it?
Wittmann has got the pace to get past Scheider.
Yes.
And he's a second back, but they're going to be nose to tail on the restart. The question is how easy he'll get, or how quickly he can get past Rockenfeller. And Rockenfeller now is going to be the more important driver, perhaps, because he's got to defend from Wittmann. They're on comparable tyres. They're both on the option tyre. So if Rockenfeller defends, that helps Ekstrom. He'll then get ahead of Green.
Yes.
But Rockenfeller has the pace to get ahead of Green. We'll go racing this lap, by the way. The safety car is due in this time. So Rockenfeller should jump Jamie Green. Can Jamie hang on to a podium place and keep Wittmann behind him?
Okay. So, lights go out on the safety car, and it will be in this lap, and we will go racing. So, Jamie backs them up then. You know, the best he can hope out of this is a podium, isn't it? As he floors it now and gets away. Futile, really, because of course he's on the option tyres, and Ecke and Rockenfeller are on the option tyres.
Yeah,
Jamie Green is on the standard tyre.
Yeah.
Timo Scheider on the standard tyre as well.
And here we go.
Wittmann, of course, on the option, as to Paul Di Resta. Right, let's go racing once again. As Matthias Ekstrom just lines up Jamie Green, doesn't he? Bit of weaving there from Jamie. Marco Wittmann sniffs the opportunity, doesn't he?
Scheider dropping away from Rockenfeller, which is partly due to the tyres and partly due to him defending anyway. But here comes Wittmann up the inside, and he's going to do it through for 4th. And look, Di Resta is through as well.
Yes.
Di Resta is on the options, and he cuts across the front of Scheider, and Di Resta lines up to have a go at Wittmann because he's got the momentum.
Whoa.
Here they come. The Mercedes will be ahead, but on the wrong line for the hairpin.
This is going to be very exciting going into the hairpin because we've got Paul de Resta and Marco Wittmann fighting, and now up the inside goes Matthias Ekstrom on Jamie Green. There's no surprise really. Mike Rockefeller, he's not quite close enough to do it, but in the mix behind,
I think de Resta had managed to stay ahead of Wittmann going into the hairpin, and Farfus is trying to get back into that mix as well. Ekstrom leads the way then. Jamie Green runs second, Mike Rockefeller is third, and then look at the gap back because you've got de Resta fourth, Wittmann is fifth, Scheider is sixth, and Farfus is seventh.
So here comes Matthias Ekstrom, the race leader. Jamie Green still not been passed by Mike Rockefeller. Then we see Paul de Resta on an absolute charge now, who's managed to get past Marco Wittmann, as we saw at the hairpin. Here comes Mike Rockefeller. Jamie Green is staying with it though, isn't he?
He is. He's doing a very good job of defending here. Ekstrom is getting away, and de Resta is starting to inch up. Remember, de Resta out-qualified Wittmann, so in a sense, this is the right place for him to be, ahead of the BMW. Can he get up onto the back of Rockefeller on this, the last lap of the race? Ekstrom leads Green by 1.9, Green to Rocky 2.10, so then it's 11 tenths back to de Resta fourth.
So some brilliant driving that we're seeing here from Jamie Green, who is trying to hold that Audi at bay.
Green's going to go wide, and he's going to lose momentum here. Rockefeller, with the faster tyres, tries to find a way past. But what is great to see here is that Audi are letting these two drivers race. They're not affected by championship situations. So this is a proper battle. Two same cars, but on different types of tyre.
And you have to say credit to Jamie Green, who is
going to lose out.
Yeah, he's going to lose out there. But is he going to lose out to Paul de Resta as well? No, de Resta not quite close enough. De Resta has really got the march on Marco Wittmann.
Yeah. I'm surprised that Wittmann's not stayed with him, actually, because that BMW has dropped back. But it's going to be a second victory of the season. Back-to-back wins for Matthias Ekstrom, who has only got a handful of corners to go. Rockefeller for second, but the question mark is now for third. Is Jamie Green going to be able to hang on in there?
Can Green get a podium? And, or will we see Paul de Resta on the podium? Well, we haven't got many corners before we'll be finding out here. So there is Rocky P2, there's Jamie Green P3, there is Paul de Resta, who is absolutely right on Jamie Green. Now, of course, they're mates.
At the moment.
At the moment. They had it coming together at the Norris Ring, didn't they? But to take the win here at Hockenheim, Matthias Ekstrom plays out the strategy perfectly. Mike Rockefeller takes P2 and Jamie Green gets a podium. What a brilliant drive from the Brit.
Fantastic. If there's a drive of the race, I'd give it to Jamie Green for that. I think that was an excellent drive, and that safety car did him no favours. So on the wrong tyres, on the slower tyres, he had to defend like mad, and we've had a big off at the very end because Petrov has gone into the back of an Audi and absolutely jacked it. You've got two blitz cars off by the side of the road right at the very end. It is Adrian Tombe, you're quite right. And Petrov was ahead going onto the lap, but he's got into the back of Tombe, and there the course cars are out to go to attend to the incident, so that takes a little bit of the shine off Ekstrom's win. But the officials are going to go and attend to the dramas. Petrov and Tombe off on the last lap of the race, but Matthias Ekstrom wins. Mike Rockefeller second, Jamie Green third, and Audi lockout, and Green to de Resta was a fifth of a second. Behind de Resta fourth, Wittmann was fifth, Scheider sixth, Tomczyk seventh. Tomczyk seventh from way, way back on the grid. Eighth, Robert Wickens. Ninth, Miguel Molina, the pole man. And 10th, Antonio Felix da Costa.
Not wishing to spoil the party, David. On my screen, under investigation with the safety car restart, the black and white flag to Jamie Green. Now, there's going to be no further action following that, is there? Because under investigation meant that they decided to give him the black and white flag. Here is Dieter Gas right now with Verena.
What an exciting race. Congratulations. A triple victory for Audi and manufacturer title. Should be happy.
Yes, I am. Definitely. I mean, at the end, the safety car, definitely we didn't need that. We seem to be safe, and then all of a sudden you have to be afraid again that something can go wrong. But I think the drivers did an excellent race. They played it fair, and we're really happy today.
Congratulations. Thank you so much, Dieter Gas. And back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Verena. As Marco Wittmann then doing some donuts, and he's entitled to. He's the champion, isn't he? And so too Timo Glock.
And this is what the fans want.
Of course.
There are some championships that are really against this. Well, Formula One, remember, you've had in the past Sebastian Vettel, when he was celebrating his world championship, being censured for it. But in front of packed grandstands, why not?
It's a bit of showbiz, isn't
Exactly,
it?
and we need
Come
it
on.
in the sport. We need it. The incident between Tombe and Petrov has been reported to the stewards. They were battling. I think they just tripped over each other and went off the road from
did they?
what I'm aware of, but I'm sure we'll see more evidence in a moment to try and piece it all together. But we said it was going to be a good race. It's been a fascinating one and some cracking racing right at the very end particularly.
Yes, and I think I wholeheartedly agree with you in that I think, you know, what Audi did and allowed them to race was brilliant.
Yes, and Jamie Green, I mean, I know Matthias Ekstrom is the winner, and he did a very good job on both sets of tyres as well. But Jamie Green did a top job there, and after the season he's had, Jamie on the podium is a cracking result, I reckon.
Yeah, and deserve it.
Yeah, totally.
Wow.
But at the start of the year, we talked, as you see the result, about Matthias Ekstrom perhaps being the old guard. He can still do it.
You're right. And confirmation there that he takes the win from Mike Rockenfeller and Jamie Green. The 1, 2, 3 here at Hockenheim. Paul di Resta. Let's not lose sight of the fact Paul di Resta drove very well to be P4. Marco Wittmann P5. Timo Scheider P6. Then it was Tomczyk, Wickens Molina and Antonio Felix da Costa. And here is Matthias Ekstrom on screen then. Mike Rockenfeller burning out then as they head towards Parc Fermé. Here comes Eki. Flat! I'll never forget that. It was a great line from Matthias Ekstrom. Here comes Jamie Green as well.
And the rest of the cars go to the Parc Fermé on the track. Matthias Ekstrom has to be weighed, first of all. And then we'll go to the team to celebrate as the new champion. Marco Wittmann, who will go to the podium, of course, clambers out of the car. He won it 2 races ago in style at the Lausitz-Ring, but there were more celebrations, and he came home in the end in 5th position.
So there is the champion heading towards the scales there, Marco Wittmann. As always with his performing hair.
And the technical team sort out the drivers' weights, and then the drivers will make their way up towards the podium. So Matthias Ekstrom, this was how he got the race lead. The tyres do play a huge part in this, of course, because the option tyre is the faster. And by using it in the second stint, just trying to think whether that's the first time we've had a race won this year with the option tyre being used in the second stint of the race. I'm pretty confident in saying that.
I think you're right. Well, there the fireworks. Off they went. As always. And this is what reinforces my point I would like to make, and that is, come on, this is showbiz.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And Matthias Ekstrom came here as a small boy, sat in the grandstand with his dad to watch the good old Group A style German Touring Car Championship, and said, that's what I want to do one day. I want to be a racing driver, but in the DTM. And double champion, that is a 19th career victory. Marco Wittmann is this year's champion. The BMW driver coming home in 5th place as he makes his way over the timing line. So the fans being allowed, because this is the last race of the day, across the track. They will congregate at the bottom of the podium where Matthias Ekstrom, Mike Rockenfeller, Jamie Green and Marco Wittmann will soon arrive.
So several shots, as you would expect, of the timing line being there is the champion, Marco Wittmann.
He wasn't quite as quick as he was, well, far from it, because that's 2 victories in the last 2 races, back-to-back wins for Matthias Ekstrom.
Yeah, good to see him and Jamie Green there. Mr. Abt, and Mr. Ulrich. And let's be honest, it wasn't that long ago we were questioning whether Audi would take a win this season. As the fans are heading down towards the podium as giveaways are being thrown over the catch fencing.
There are plenty of Audi flags about to be waved. BMW have been giving away flags all morning, and there's a very big Swiss flag as well that has arrived at the foot of the podium. So the end of term celebrations, it's real end of term feeling in the sunshine as well, mid-afternoon here at Hockenheim. This then, Dave, is how the Drivers' Championship looks at the end of the season.
Yes, it was Marco Wittmann that was on 156 points, going to be untroubled right at the top. However, Matthias Ekström, P2 in the Drivers' Championship, confirmed. Mike Rockenfeller, P3. Christian Vittoris, P4, with the rest on screen as you saw. So we're looking forward to the podium celebrations here at Hockenheim, which will be on the way very, very soon. But there, the team championship goes the way of BMW Team RMG, had done so before we even got here to Hockenheim. Let's hear now from the winner, Matthias Ekström, with Verena.
Yes, a very, very happy Matthias Ekström. He certainly did a phenomenal race, as we could all see. Eki, congratulations, a fantastic race. You fought so hard. In the end, you're up on the podium, first place, and you're second in the championship. Is it a sunny day for you?
Yeah, I think it's quite nice. And, I mean, after a year with some highs and lows, we could at least end on a high, which is pretty nice. Yesterday, qualifying was good. Had a good start of the race and could more or less do my pace on the standard tires without losing too much. And then in the end, I saw Jamie. I got the times. I knew I would catch him if nothing special would happen. But then the safety car spiced it up a bit, but was actually not so difficult.
Congratulations, fantastic job. And back to you guys.
It's interesting, isn't it, that is one of the best races we've had of the season in terms of the tyres and the way they've been used. And earlier on in the day, yes, Hans-Werner Aufrecht of the ITR announced that there will be no option tyre for next year because they haven't actually added to the racing in the way that he wanted. So although Hankook has produced an excellent tyre, it hasn't helped the racing as he wanted. There will be no option tyre for next season. And a couple of hours after he makes that announcement, we get the best race, yes, by weather apart, by taking the different tyres into account. Funny old world, isn't it?
It is rather. It is rather. Well, as is traditional here at the DTM final, you can see the huge, huge crowd now all assembling on the start-finish straight underneath the podium to enjoy the podium celebrations when they come, which won't be very long from now. And there was Jamie Green. He deserves to do that. Yeah. He really does.
He deserves that podium.
I agree with
unquestionably. It was an excellent drive. I know Matthias Ekström's was an excellent drive, but Jamie had a pretty horrible season, really, with a lot of bad luck and a few mistakes from him and the team as well. I think that was a very satisfactory outcome, as people tend to say, to the end of the season. It was a deserved result. Well done, Jamie Green. And well done, Audi, as everybody starts to, in replay here, celebrate with their donuts.
Indeed. And
donuts are on the menu, you know.
That's exactly the right thing to do, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. That is what we should be doing, isn't it? Let's be honest, we're here to enjoy motor racing, and this is all part of it. Marco Wittmann, of course, well, sealed the championship early on, and Matthias Ekström being congratulated there by Hans-Jürgen Abt. And he'll be a delighted boy up there on the podium. Another brilliant heli shot, and there you can see just all the people making their way down onto the main straight. Eki the winner, Mike Rockenfeller, then Green. Then Paul di Resta, Marco Wittmann, Timo Scheider, Martin Tomczyk, Robert Wickens, Miguel Molina, Antonio Felix da Costa, Gary Paff at P11. And P12 was Timo Glock, and the second page there that you can see. We lost right at the very end. Vitaly Petrov and Adrian Tombe would already lost. Pascal Wehrlein and Daniel Juncker-Deya and Mortara and Martin. So the drivers are making the way up to the podium. And there, in discussion, Matthias Ekström and Jamie Green. And great drive from both of them. And indeed from the outgoing champion, Mike Rockenfeller, also. And just look at that audience that awaits them on the podium. DTM 2014, Danke fans, thank you. So there's all three. Jamie Green looking very cool, calm and collected. Mike Rockenfeller, just see the back of him, and Matthias Ekström, and there, of course, the champion, Marco Wittmann. So out towards the podium goes Matthias Ekström. And he'll love this. He will love it. The huge crowds below. Mike Rockenfeller. And here comes Jamie Green.
Team Up, Sportsline. Hans-Jürgen Up, ganz großen Applaus.
So also there, Hans-Jürgen Up, Manfred Sandbichler from Hankook Tires as well.
Des Siegers Matthias Ekström zur schwedischen Nationalhymne.
So the anthem plays out. Just look at it.
It's great to see, isn't it? Because the DTM has earlier today announced that it's listening to its fans and it's going to get rid of what Hans-Werner Albrecht refers to as green table victories, where people in a boardroom control things, and too many computers as well. And he thinks it should go back to behind the steering wheel as the key area that the race has decided, and he's absolutely right. And Matthias Ekström, who's been through different versions of the DTM, he's driven different specs of car, he gets the winner's trophy. Hans-Jürgen Abt gets the team's trophy from Manfred Sandbichler of Hankook. But it could be that next year we go into a less aero-dependent and less manufacturer-determined period for the DTM, and the real stars go back to being the drivers, as Mike Rockenfeller receives his trophy for second place. The outgoing champion ends his season winless, but on the podium at least.
Dieter Gummer here, the Lord Mayor of Hockenheim, makes his trophy presentation to Jamie Green, and I think I agree with you. If there was a drive of the race, good race from Jamie Green, and great that he managed to get a podium.
And the perfect podium for Audi as well. So Matthias Ekström for the AB Sportsline team, for Team Phoenix, Mike Rockenfeller, and for Team Rosberg, it is Jamie Green. 3 different teams, all operating the same car. All stands next to Wolfgang Ulrich, partly to appreciate the success of the Audi drivers in that race, but also getting ready for Marco Wittmann's appearance on the podium as well. No more spraying, time for a glug of the fizz and photographs to be taken, and then the drivers will make their way to the press conference. Jamie Green celebrating his podium finish. As we say, it's been a pretty difficult year for Jamie, but it's equaling a third place that he scored earlier on in the season, so a second podium of the year, which is good.
Well, a race that played out. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. DTM star. Championship winning car of...
There's been an extraordinary season for Marco Wittmann. He wasn't even a race winner this time last year. Let's hear very rapidly from Jamie Green, if we can.
Yeah, he's just drying up there. Jamie, you certainly did a flawless race. It looked like it the whole time. You were fighting and fighting and fighting. In the end, it only... All right, then. Cheers, Jamie. He well deserves it. Anyway, in the end, only P3. Are you very disappointed about that?
Not really, to be honest. I knew that starting the race on options was a bit of a risky strategy, but obviously with so many Audis at the front of the grid, we weren't all going to do the same strategy. So it was kind of a 50-50, and I drove the wheels off the car, and third was as good as it was going to be, so I'm pretty proud of myself today.
Yeah, you can be. And of course, it's also a nice ending of the season for Audi today, isn't it? I mean, you've got the manufacturer title and 3 guys on the podium.
Yeah, it's perfect. Congratulations to BMW on winning the championship. But from Audi's point of view, we're a really strong team, and I'm starting to feel at home here now. So all in all, I'm very happy.
I bet. And are you going to take the bottle with you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, enjoy. Back to you guys.
It's a British thing, you see, Verena. Just before interview, take slug.
Well, Mike Rockenfeller is back on the podium because he's third in the championship. The championship runner-up is Matthias Ekström.
Gets a thump from Dieter Gas as he walks past.
And there is no need to remind you who's on the top step of the podium.
He is champion. Marco Wittmann. He goes to the top step. His season has been utterly remarkable. And as the BMW flags fly, Marco Wittmann is the DTM champion. He's done it, and now he can truly celebrate it. Right at the top step of the podium for the championship for 2014, Marco Wittmann. Clemens Klinker, then the board member from Dekra AEG, makes the trophy presentation to Dieter Gas. Dropping that, that's a big one. His Royal Highness Prince Leopold of Bavaria, the former DTM driver, of course. And I'm guessing that's pretty heavy, to be honest with you.
It's a good job the DTM teams have a big old truck, because that will, I think, need to be transported in a vehicle. It's certainly not something for hand baggage, is it? Hans Stuck, the DMSB president, former DTM racer, of course, the champion, comes out to give the trophy, the third place, to Mike Rockenfeller.
I'm sorry, a task has failed.
Trophy presentation to Matthias Ekström.
Und zu guter Letzt von Dr. Volkmar Denner, dem Vorsitzenden der Geschäftsführung der Robert Bosch GmbH,
And here comes the big
für
one.
den DTM-Champion 2014. Ein Riesapplaus für
Dr. Volkmar Denner, chairman of the board, Robert Bosch GmbH, presents the trophy to the champion for 2014, Marco Wittmann.
A massively emotional moment for Marco Wittmann. He's kind of had 2 goes at this, hasn't he? Because there was the celebration at Lausitzring when he won the championship, but here in front of a much bigger crowd, with all the ceremony that goes with the last round of DTM, to be up there again and take the championship is quite a moment.
Some ceremony and pomp also, I feel. And he is the champion, and I think now it really sinks in, as you say, because he's got the huge crowd in front of him. A very unassuming young man.
He is. And 3 champions, past and present, are there.
Yes.
Wittmann, Ekstrom, Rockenfeller. Stefan Reinhold from the RMG team is on the receiving end as well. And a selfie for Matthias Ekstrom and Dieter Kass.
That's great. That's great.
He remains a great character, Matthias
Yes,
Ekstrom,
he does.
And he's exactly what the DTM needs. He's been a loyal Audi servant through thick and thin. And this season, he's had his bad days for sure, but he's had his good ones, and this is the second of them with another victory.
Yes.
But Marco Wittmann, who is there now, towel in hand, is the champion and makes his way up to the top step of the podium once again for more photographs, I think, to be taken.
Well, it's fantastic, and it's such a colourful spectacle, and it's so enjoyable. And, well, been a hard season, but, well, this man has done such a great job. We cannot deny just how dominant Marco Wittmann has been over the 2014 season. And there, through the smoke of the fireworks, ironically, he had a really, you know, his qualifying this weekend was not as good as it has been, and you know, we're used to seeing him right up at the front, aren't we? And it was a hard charge for Marco Wittmann today.
It was. I'm surprised that he didn't do a little bit better after that restart. I was predicting him for the podium. In fairness, because of the defence that Jamie Green put up, nor did Paul de Rasta get onto the podium. No. But I'm a little bit surprised that Wittmann's car was still underachieving and he lost out to the Mercedes. De Rasta was absolutely flying, wasn't he? Another lap and he'd have been there.
Yes. Well, all the gold tape there. Grab a grand all over again, isn't it?
Takes you back.
It does, rather.
For those that, if you like, got away, Gary Paffett 11th, Bruno Spengler 13th in the end, and Christian Vitoris doesn't just fail to be the runner-up, of course, he loses out to Mike Rockenfeller as well. Yes. Vitoris 15th in the end. And Augusto Farfus really did fall away towards the end. He was 17th, last driver to come across the timing line. Big frustration for Farfus in what's been actually a very frustrating season. His results do not reflect his ability, I would say.
I would wholeheartedly agree with that. So then, the focus of all the celebrations. In due course, the drivers will be heading off to a press conference. In the meantime, the thousands and thousands of race fans that have been here have enjoyed the spectacle, have enjoyed some great racing today right across the programme. And well, as always, the Hockenheim finale to DTM, always a very big occasion.